So the Suns went ahead and brought in two of the best remaining prospects that they could acquire, in my opinion, from my previous video. And I mean, drafting Oso Ighodaro at 40 and bringing in Jalen Bridges on a two-way contract are two fantastic moves for the future of this roster. And I really hope that we hold on to these guys because I think there's a promising future for both of them. Starting off with the guy we traded down for, Oso Ighodaro. We had pick 51 and pick 56, and we ended up trading up to select the Phoenix native, Chandler native from Desert Vista High School, Oso Ighodaro. Out of Marquette, this guy was really great at Marquette, and he's been talked about as a draft prospect since his sophomore year, I believe. In his senior season with Marquette, they ended up being one of the best teams in the nation, and he averaged 13.4 points, 6.9 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game in 32.5 minutes per game. He shot 57.6% from the field, and he's 0% three-point shooter. Actually, the Suns brought in two of the worst four shooters from this draft class, which is really impressive how they ended up doing that when there are, I think, clearly some other bad shooters in this class. There's a lot of centers that probably shot worse than them or should have shot worse than them, but here we are with Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn, two completely non-shooters who are probably unplayable together, but it is what it is because Ighodaro brings a lot on the offensive end regardless. I mean, he is a five-man. Like, he doesn't need to be the greatest shooter. He's 6'10". He's got I believe he has a 6'11 wingspan, and he's a pretty solid rim protector. He's not the greatest in the world, but he is a very nice athlete. He recorded, I think it was a 39.5-inch max vertical leap, which is third best among centers, and a 35-inch standing vertical jump, which was, I think, number 2 among centers in this draft class. As it is, this isn't the greatest draft class, but there is a lot of center talent in it, and it is very notable that Oso Ighodaro tested as one of the best vertical leapers and athletes, considering he is just such a great offensive player. He can do a lot of things as a passer. He basically operated as the Yusuf Nurkic of the West Virginia offense. Like, there's really not not West Virginia, sorry, I saw the blue and yellow jersey on my screen, just kind of clicked like that, but Marquette. In that Marquette offense, he really did operate as that Yusuf Nurkic type, operating at the top of the key, setting screens, running handoffs with Tyler Kolek, and making dimes into the inside, trying to feed backdoor cuts, feeding with bounce passes inside or over the top. And yeah, he's very, very comparable to Yusuf Nurkic. Actually, the current Suns player is probably his best NBA comparison. And he could definitely do better things defensively. So I'm pretty happy to see Oso Ighodaro on our team because he's just such a great fit here. He is that I think he's only a 5-man. I don't think you can play him at the 4, but he's definitely a good 5-man. He's not quite the, elite rim rolling, shot blocking type of 5-man that I would have wanted. But I do like this concept of let's see what works with Nurkic and try to find a better defender who can do a lot of similar things offensively. He's not going to be the same player as Nurkic, This is going to be his first year in the league, and he was a second-round pick. He's not going to be the same level of talent, but in time, he's going to definitely be better than Yusuf Nurkic. Nurkic is just not very good at this point in his career. And I think he's definitely a guy the Suns should hold on to, and I'd love to see him back on this roster because for as long as we can have him, before he, goes his own way, probably gets a bigger contract somewhere else. But we got a lot of time until that's going to happen. We haven't seen this man play a game yet, not even in the summer league. I'm looking forward to seeing him play alongside Ryan Dunn. That's going to be a little bit of a weird starting lineup because that's a whole lot of non-shooters in there. But, I'm very excited to see Ighodaro play for a Suns team. Hopefully we don't trade him away like we did with our previous second-round big man that we drafted in the Dayton forward, that Tumani Kamara. I don't know why I keep blanking on his name. I blanked on his name in the last video. I blanked on his name again. But, yeah. Oso Ighodaro, looking forward to seeing him play, seeing what he's going to bring from Marquette and how he's developed in his time since playing college basketball. I think he can really show some nice things as a rim protector, as a passer. He finishes his shots in the paint. He averaged in the Big East, which was a pretty competitive conference. He did average 2.6 offensive rebounds per game, which is pretty solid. I don't think he's the level offensive rebound of Yusuf Nurkic, but he does a lot of other good things that will get him on the court. Right now, he stands as our second center on the roster and could potentially even play into being the best center on this roster in this upcoming season. That's not even like an exaggeration. I just really think Yusuf Nurkic is not that good, and he should probably just be traded this offseason so we don't have to have this conversation. But Oso could just easily be better than him. This team, the Suns team, with not actually drafting one of those rim protecting centers, means that you're really committing to getting one of those in free agency, which seems almost impossible. Or you have to get one via trade, which also seems impossible. I don't really know what the Suns are planning. You really need someone like that. It is a clear gaping hole in this roster. You're really banking hard on Goga Bitadze panning out as your starting center, and that guy could get more than a minimum contract from anywhere. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But let's move on to the other guy that the Suns brought in on a two-way deal, Jalen Bridges, a guy who's got a similar last name to a former Suns player who was around the same height, same weight coming out of college, a 4-year player with a red shirt at Baylor. He played at West Virginia. That's where West Virginia got into my head in his first 2 years, and then played 2 years with Baylor. In his senior season, he averaged 12.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.1 steals, 0.6 blocks per game, and he shot 46.6% from the field and that's his 2-point percentage. He shot 41% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. So yeah, there we go. We got our 40% 3-point shooter to make up for our 0% 3-point shooters, basically. Well, I guess Ryan Dunn was a 20% 3-point shooter. Oso's a 0%. And yeah, we did get a nice shooter in here, Jalen Bridges. It's a great draft pick, in my opinion. 31.7 minutes per game at Baylor last season. And yeah, he was definitely a big contributor for that Baylor roster. I watched a bit of him when I was scouting for Yves Missi, and he doesn't exactly jump off the page as like an elite player, but he does a lot of good things, just shooting three and makes the right passes, plays defense. And yeah, I'm just getting back to his height. He's gonna be listed at 6'8" with shoes. 6'8" with shoes with a 6'10" wingspan. So he's got a pretty good size. He's 213 pounds, which notably is only 7 pounds lighter than Oso Ighodaro, which maybe we should be a little bit concerned about that. Oh, Oso's 222, so 9 pounds lighter than Oso Ighodaro. Ighodaro, you got to put on some weight, man. He's got to be able to hold his own on the interior, so Ighodaro's got to work on that. He's going to get bullied by Nurkic in practice. If Nurkic is still on the roster, Nurkic is just going to be so much bigger than him. And they're the only two bigs on the roster, so it's going to be a little bit of a rough time for Ighodaro starting off. And Ryan Dunn, I guess I never talked about his wingspan or listed weight in the previous video, but he's going to be listed at probably 6'7" with a 7'1.5" wingspan. So that's a pretty great wingspan. And he's 213 pounds, so right around the same weight as Jalen Bridges. Bridges is just a really solid signing. You know, he's a guy who's going to be playing some in the G League. I mean, all these guys that we're talking about, Dunn, Ighodaro, Bridges, they're all going to play some in the G League. They're also going to play some in the league, and it really depends on how they pan out. It depends on what they show when they're on the court, and that will determine their minutes. I think that's quite obvious. They're not, top, lottery picks that we need to put a lot of investment into. They have to play for their spots on the team, Even Dunn, who was drafted a first-round pick, they still have to play for their spots on the team, and it'll be interesting to see how all of them pan out. As I mentioned, Jalen Bridges was one of my top targets coming into the second day of the draft in my last video that I made yesterday. And yeah, I'm really happy to see that the Suns acquired him. That's a great signing. I hope the Suns continue to be active in the two-way market, but I don't believe there's been any news or updates since I started making this video. So if anything new comes in that excites me, I will be back here. I'll be talking about it. It might be a slightly more scuffed setup, but I will be back. And yeah, Jalen Bridges, solid signing. That's how you do it in two-way contracts. You really filled another, just another big need of this team. Another big wing who can play defense and shoot the three. He's not the most eye-popping wing defender like Ryan Dunn is, but he is really solid. He did some great stuff at Baylor. He's a nice connector. And that's exactly what you need if you're the Suns, a connecting piece who plays defense, shoots the three, passes the ball. I mean, that just really checks all the boxes. And yeah, that's a great player to pick up on a two-way contract. I think he was listed as like number 46 prospect on someone's board. I don't remember. He's definitely a second-round prospect, and he had a lot of teams trying to get him as a two-way contract, but he ended up choosing the Suns, a team that played a lot of two-way contracts last season, and I think he could really play his way onto the team and earn a full roster spot in due time. So it'll be interesting to see how he pans out. Another big wing. He's much bigger than, Royce O'Neal, who we're probably going to re-sign. And yeah, bringing in size like this through the draft, or at least through undrafted free agents, is really important. Not only size, but athletes is really important, because this free agency class just has none of that. There's no size, there's no athletes in this class. And so that's why it's just really important to attack the draft. And the Suns really finally got their heads together and did stuff in the draft, did stuff in undrafted free agency, and that makes me really happy to see. It makes me have some hope for the future of this team, because things were looking pretty bad coming into the draft. But they come out of this draft with turning pick 22 into Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Jalen Bridges, which they could have done even with 22, and also 2 second-round picks. They got a 2026 and a 2031 second-round pick, which, I mean, maybe they could be relevant down the line. Probably more as trade chips more than anything. Probably not as players, but yeah. James Jones actually did a really good job once he actually went into the draft. What a surprise. I don't know. Well, we got to see these guys play. I can't say too much now, because we actually have to see how good these guys are when they hit the court. Who knows exactly what will happen, but this is a promising start. Maybe the Suns should have just kept 22, and maybe they will live to regret it. But for now, we got something to be happy about, something to be excited for, and I'm, really more than okay about that. So that's about it for this video. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit before I have another video with any film, and any future videos are going to be a little bit more scuffed. I'm probably going to be recording audio on my phone, so it's going to be just a little bit more scuffed, but I'll be back. I'll see you around. See you in the next one. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, and you made it all the way to the end, maybe go and hit that button. That would be pretty cool of you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.